A regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District will be held Tuesday, February 11th, 2025, beginning at 5:30 p.m. at the Dr. Ricardo Chapa Boardroom Administration Building of the McAllen Independent School District, 2000 North 23rd Street, McAllen, Texas 78501. Items listed on this agenda may be taken in an order other than that as shown on this agenda. Unless removed from the consent agenda, items identified within this consent agenda will be acted on at one time. At this meeting, there may be discussion and action by the board on the items and subjects listed as follows. Item 1, call the meeting to order. I have done so at 5:30. At this time, earlier or yesterday, we lost a valued member of the McAllen ISD community, Mr. Garcia, a counselor at Lamar and a mentor to many. And I would like to have this moment of silence in his honor, and also keep his wife Gilda and daughter Gina and her husband and children in our prayers and our thoughts. So please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We will move on to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4, public comments. We have none at this meeting. Number 5, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Gutierrez.
5A, schoolyard forest coming to 7 of our schools. Recently, Quinta Mazatlan of McAllen received a grant that will enable them to construct a schoolyard forest at 7 elementary campuses. This is a $2.7 million grant that will benefit Alvarez Elementary, Fields Elementary, Houston Elementary, Jackson Elementary, Roosevelt Elementary, Seguin Elementary, and Wilson Elementary. We have a video on this announcement, so can they
So we're kicking off our schoolyard forest grant in partnership with the McAllen ISD. We are honored to receive $2.7 million from Texas A&M Forest Service to create 7 schoolyard forests in McAllen on elementary schools.
The Texas A&M Forest Service had offered 5 different grants between $2 to $3 million throughout the state of Texas. All of those grants fortunately came to the RGV in 5 different communities, McAllen being one of them. With these grants, we aim to create green schoolyard spaces for kids and for the community to utilize as not only spaces to explore and be within nature and connect with nature, but also to learn within. Studies show that kids that spend more time within trees do better in schools. Trees that are planted strategically near buildings and structures allow for energy conservation and can save up to 25% in energy costs. So there's many benefits for having trees within our communities.
It'll really benefit our students by providing not only outdoor learning spaces, but a great look at nature and live science action, and being able to give them the opportunity to go outside and explore trees, nature, animals, different insects. So we're really excited.
We are beyond excited to have the Tiny Forest project at our school. It's something that we've had on our wish list for a long time, to have outdoor learning spaces for our students. Our teachers can bring their resources outside, conduct lessons outside, and it's just a great opportunity.
We're a national nonprofit really working to reconnect children to nature. And we do this through many strategies, and one of them is green schoolyards. So McAllen is joining a national movement of greening school grounds. And so we're really excited to be able to support the community. We support communities throughout the U.S. And so McAllen is joining a cohort of many communities working to transform these spaces that have a profound impact on children's health, mental health, community, environment. There are so many benefits to just doing this work.
So the timeline, we have 3 years to accomplish. We've been meeting with the 7 schools these past 2 weeks, doing our assessments with the landscape architect. We will involve the students and the teachers and the neighborhood in drawings as well on how to create a schoolyard forest on their campus. And from Texas A&M Forest Service perspective, they're very much interested in increasing the tree canopy to 30%. Some of the schools range from 5 to 9%, and very much interested in the educational element in providing outdoor science classrooms for the students.
Okay, thank you. Item 5B, spelling bee winners. Dr. Gutierrez.
We also have a video to show the community and everyone that on January the 24th, the district held its annual spelling bee, and we'd like to show that video of our students competing in spelling bee for McAllen ISD. Go ahead.
Our students practice all first semester long for their campus spelling bee, and our campus spelling bee champions are gathered here today to participate in the district spelling bee. And this is very important to us, right? We think literacy is a very important skill that students need to cultivate, not only for school, but for everyday lives. So this just keeps the love of literacy alive in our schools. Our district champion will represent our district at the regional spelling bee, and we're very proud of them, right? We're proud of their hard work, we're proud of their dedication, and we're proud of their sponsors too, who have put in long hours to help them get here today.
They have to know a lot of just the rules of the spelling bee, and then they have to have studied lists of spelling bee words to just understand the nuances of some of this spelling. And it's incredible. It takes a lot of effort on their part, on the part of their sponsors and their parents supporting them, and then it's exciting to watch it all kind of come together at the competition.
Very nervous, super nervous. Like, I have a bunch of butterflies in my stomach, and I didn't want to go in regionals. I wanted to get 4th or 5th, so I wouldn't have to do it, but I still get a big prize at the same time.
All right. Item 5C, campuses celebrate 100 days of school. Dr. Gutierrez.
On January the 30th, our elementary campuses celebrated 100 days of school. The festivities included a special visit from Dairy Queen, one of our big sponsors and supporters, and we also have a video in the celebration that our schools celebrated on that day. Go ahead.
I got everything you need.
Very nice. Ice cream for everybody. Notice, item number 6, notice of public meeting and notice of proposed contract for legal services under Texas Government Code 2254.1036A1. Item submitted by our Deputy Superintendent for Business and Operations, Dr. Gutierrez.
Notice is hereby given that a meeting of the Board of Trustees of McAllen Independent School District will be held on February the 11th, 2025, for the purpose of considering and taking action on all matters on the agenda for the meeting, including approval of an agreement with the law firm Millen & Millen, PLLC, as special counsel to perform all legal services necessary to pursue a recovery of insured but unpaid property damages and losses sustained by McAllen Independent School District as a result of the hailstorms and windstorms that struck the McAllen, Texas area in April of 2023. Mr. John Ball, our school attorney, is available to answer any questions. No action is required at this time on this item.
Okay. I guess we just move on to the next item. Thank you very much. Thank you for that information, Dr. Gutierrez. Item number 7, discussion and possible action on findings made upon approval of contract 2025-213 contingent fee contract for legal services with Millen and Millen PLLC under Texas Government Code 2254.1036B. Dr. Gutierrez.
McAllen ISD has decided to hire outside legal counsel to represent the district in pursuing property damage insurance claims related to storm damage that occurred on or about the month of April of 2023. McAllen Independent School District finds that there is substantial need for the legal services and requests action on this item. Mr. Jonathan Ball, our school attorney, is available to answer any questions, and administration is recommending action on this item.
Can I get a motion on this, please?
So moved. Second.
Yeah, that's fine. I have a motion by trustee Regalado and a second by trustee De La Garza Lopez. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes 4-0. Item 8, discussion and possible action on approval of contract number 2025-213 contingent fee contract for legal services with Millen and Millen PLLC. Dr. Gutierrez.
McAllen ISD District finds that there is substantial need for legal services to represent the district in pursuing property damage insurance claims related to storm damage that occurred on or about the month of April of 2023. Administration recommends approval of the contingent fee contract for legal services with Millen and Millen PLLC. Mr. Jonathan Ball, our school attorney, is also available to answer any questions on this item. Administration is recommending action on this item.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by trustee Regalado and a second by trustee De La Garza Lopez. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes 4-0. Item number 9, donations. 9A, discussion and possible action for the approval of parent-teacher organization PTO donation at Leonelo H. Gonzalez Elementary. Dr. Gutierrez.
The parent-teacher organization, PTO, at Leonelo H. Gonzalez Elementary will donate turf, artificial grass, / landscape to improve the campus environment for students. Ms. Jeanette Nino, our Associate Superintendent for Instructional Leadership, will share more information. We are recommending action on this item. Go ahead, Ms. Nino.
Yes, thank you. Here's the images of the front part of our campus that is going to be receiving this donation, and they will have artificial turf at the front entrance of the school. And these are just some of those areas that we can see currently. Thank you.
Motion, ladies?
So moved.
I just have a comment. I think it's wonderful that the PTOs are doing this at the schools. I mean, we need the collaboration, but it always gives me pause because then we create a different gap, you know, the schools that have and the schools that have not. So it's always difficult to sit on this side of it. I've sat on the PTO side and fundraised for the pavilion and for marquees that Bettis Elementary didn't have. And so it's, you know, both sides. I see both sides. So it's just hard sitting up on this side saying yes to things that create the disparity. But since we're in the legislative session that we are and the schools gets funded the way they do, was there a motion already or do you need a second?
You need a second.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by trustee De La Garza Lopez and a second by trustee Aliceda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes 4-0. Item number 10, instructional services, instructional leadership, human resources, business and operations, and board of trustees. Item 10A, instructional services. 10A1. Report regarding counseling and guidance family treatment program department. Dr. Gutierrez.
Administration will report on the counseling and guidance / family treatment program department. Ms. Norma Cabrera, Director of College and Career and Counseling, will share more information about her department and the services they provide in our district. This item is for information purposes only. Go ahead, Ms. Cabrera.
Good evening. I'm here to talk to you about our counseling program. Under the counseling umbrella, we focus on college, career, and counseling. So next slide, please. So our mission at McAllen ISD is to make sure that we equip our students with social emotional learning and to help students overcome obstacles that are affecting their education in the area of mental health. So, thank you. So our mission is to enhance our programs and make sure that our staff focuses on that affective domain and enhance those services. So each of our schools have different needs, so we make sure that we adopt practices that meet the needs of the schools. Here is our team here at McAllen ISD. I had it in blue, so I don't know why it's in yellow. Sorry for the light letters up there. So our team is, we have our pregnancy-related services teacher that is part of our department. We have an assessment coordinator that works with TSI on college readiness. We have Adrian Garza, who works with Family Treatment Program. Those are services that are provided to Tier 3 support. Those are the students that need a lot of support with mental health. And we have Connie Caballero, who helps us with resources. And, of course, our secretary, Estela Ryan. And then here's just a picture of our counselors. We have counselors at each of our schools. Most of our elementary schools have one counselor, with the exception of Milam and Gonzalez, who have 2 counselors because of enrollment. And at middle school, our schools are at 2 counselors per school, with the exception of Morris, who has 3 counselors because of enrollment. And our high schools have the 5 academic counselors and a college counselor. And aside from this, there's counselors that are in other departments, but they're also counselors, which are our social worker and, our special ed and our career and technical education counselors. So our focus here at McAllen ISD is to make sure that we have strong, effective counseling programs. And I'm very proud to say that at McAllen ISD, our counselors provide counseling. Many districts, in many other places, counselors are test coordinators. They work on other duties. But when Senate Bill 179 came to us, which focused on the counselor role, and the 80-20 percentage of 80% of their counselors' time should be spent in counseling-related duties as per the law. We already had that in place here at McAllen ISD. Our counselors do provide counseling. Our other goal is for staff development, to make sure that they're equipped with the latest information and latest resources to better meet the needs of our students, and also, of course, to improve student outcomes. So under Goal 1, which is our counseling program, here at McAllen ISD, we have campus counseling plans. We have a district guide, but aside from that, we have a campus plan for each particular campus based on the needs of that campus. So counselors request information from staff. They pull data from, assessment, attendance, behavior, teacher questionnaires, student questionnaires, to find out what are the needs of that campus, and a plan is developed for that particular campus, because each campus has a different need. So one plan doesn't fit all campuses, but they each have their own comprehensive counseling plan that meets state requirements and the American School Counselor Association, which is the national model. Our models are more mirroring the state model, but we're also working really closely to make sure that we mirror the national model. It's just the verbiage is a little different at the national level, but we do meet the state model. Under Goal 2 for professional development opportunities, we meet with counselors regularly to make sure that they're equipped with the latest information, latest resources that are available to better meet the needs of our students. So those meetings are happening constantly with the different groups. We meet with elementary counselors as a whole. We meet with middle school counselors and high school counselors, because all their needs are different at each grade level. And then under student improvement, student outcomes, the focus is student achievement. So everything that we do is tied to student achievement. For example, at high school level, our college and career military data, we make sure in our department spearheads the TSI test to make sure that more students participate in taking the test, and also the performance rates increase. So we work very closely on TSI testing to make sure that our students are CCMR complete and also are ready for dual enrollment. We also focus on dual enrollment in our department, and we're very proud to say that we've increased those numbers. We also have our social workers that here at McAllen ISD, our social workers wear multiple hats. One of those is, of course, providing services for our homeless population or foster students. We have about 350 students right now that fall under that homeless population and about 48 that fall under foster. They work with our at-risk population, our ECODIS students, and they also help with crisis support. Anytime there is a need at a campus, a death of a student, a death of a staff member, we have crisis intervention teams that help us help students, and our social workers are at the forefront of those crisis intervention teams. They report to the campus that needs help with their resources, and they're ready to help students that need that additional support. So our social workers are a great asset to helping students overcome obstacles that are affecting their education. And then we have our family treatment program, which is very unique to McAllen ISD. Our family treatment program, we tier our services. Tier 1 is 100% of our students, these are the services that 100% of our students receive. Tier 2 is 20 to 25% of our students, for example, group counseling, individual counseling, those types of services. And Tier 3 is about 5 to 7% of our population, but that's the group that needs the most help. So our family treatment program actually provides therapy referrals to students in need, and they help us with all the community resources, the state hospitals. Today we were able to secure an LPC for staff because we have a crisis going on at Lamar. So we were able to secure an LPC for staff because staff needed a lot of support today, and but that's through the partnerships that we have with community mental health resources. And then, of course, we have our district plans. These are our scope and sequence. These are our pacing guides, our plans. This is what we recommend that is happening at every campus. But as mentioned earlier, aside from this, each campus has a comprehensive counseling plan that meets the needs of their students. So from that plan, we look at the number of individual conferences that we have with students, individual sessions, group sessions, parent meetings, staff development opportunities, and we gather all of that data and we create a plan for the campus, and then at the end of the year we have a report. So this is a plan in August, this is what we did for the year, and these are the areas that we need to grow in. So we're very, very strategic in how we provide services to students. And because of all of that, we wrap all of that up into one package, and that's how we apply for the CREST Award. And this year, 27 of our campuses are CREST recognized. Just last week was National School Counselor Week, and we were able to recognize our schools for the CREST Award. And that's just packaging everything that we do in our counseling department and submitting that application to the State Association of Counseling, and then they recognize us as CREST. We're the only district with this many campuses south of San Antonio, and we're the only district with a leadership award, which is Fields Elementary, because this is their 4th year as a CREST recognized school. So we're the only district south of San Antonio with a leadership award, and that's all due to the efforts of our counselors and our social workers. And here we are at the CREST recognition dinner last week in Galveston, and that's my report. Any questions?
Thank you.
Oh, good job. I got to spend a little time with everybody at that. And you also recognize the Counselors of the Year, yes, if you want to say who they are.
Yes, so every year we have our principals nominate candidates for Counselor of the Year. We have an elementary Counselor of the Year and a secondary Counselor of the Year. This year, Jacqueline Cantu from Houston Elementary is our elementary Counselor of the Year, and Brianna Rojas, lead counselor at Mackay, is our secondary Counselor of the Year. So they're able to, they're the face of our counseling programs for the school year. A very prestigious to us because all of them work very hard, but we can only select one to represent them, and it was a very nice recognition for them. And that's also very unique to McAllen ISD.
Congratulations to both Jackie and Brianna.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 10B, Human Resources. We have none there. Item 10C, Business and Operations. 10C1, Report regarding the delinquent tax collections for the period of October 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. Dr. Gutierrez.
Ms. Kelly Salazar from the firm Lineberger, Gogan, Blair, and Sampson LLP will present the delinquent tax collections report for October 1st, 2024 through December 31st of 2024. This is an information purposes item only. And go ahead, Ms. Kelly
Thank you,
Salazar.
Dr. Gutierrez, President Peña, and esteemed members of the board. I'm here to present the delinquent tax collection report for the period of October 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. Our delinquent tax collection program on behalf of McAllen ISD continues to focus on two basic premises. The first is to collect from the individual taxpayer first, and secondly, use the tool of litigation only as a final option to collect. During this reporting period, we completed one demand mailing over 996 statements to delinquent taxpayers within this district. We made or received over 1,100 phone calls, had 121 payoff requests. We knocked on 188 doors within this jurisdiction, educating and informing taxpayers about their delinquency and doing our best to get them into a payment agreement. We also had 211 individuals come into our office for further information or enter into a payment agreement. Regarding litigation, we have filed 29 lawsuits, disposed of 22, and we have 271 lawsuits currently pending, representing over $1.6 million owed in base, penalty, and interest to McAllen ISD. We regularly conduct tax sales and resales on judgments with little to no effort to pay. During this reporting period, we completed 2 tax sales, placing 3 properties for sale, and all 3 were pulled due to a payment agreement with the taxpayer. We do our best to work with the taxpayer to avoid foreclosure. Again, that's only a final option to collect. Regarding our second quarter highlights, you'll see our collections are up compared to the prior year, second quarter. We collected over $285,000 in base tax, over $170,000 in penalty and interest, and we collected over $284,000 in delinquent tax that was paid back to a successful protester or someone who received a benefit from the appraisal district due to a lower valuation or receiving a homestead exemption. And just for your general information, you'll see this at the fiscal year-end report. So far, the district has had over $620,000 extra in refunds year-to-date compared to the prior year. So you're seeing a surge in the district related to that, just to make you aware. In the future, we will continue filing lawsuits as necessary, continue litigating those cases on behalf of the district. We will continue to monitor and advocate for the district involving any cases in bankruptcy, and continue with our mailing program as well as property sales as necessary. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
We're good. Thank you so much.
You'll have a great evening.
Thank you.
Item 10C2, report regarding self-funded health plan update. Dr. Gutierrez.
Yes, tonight we are going to present an update on the district's self-funded health plan. Ms. Lorena Garcia, Deputy Superintendent for Business and Operations, will present more details on our health plan. And this is also an information purposes item. Go ahead, Ms. Garcia.
Yes, good evening, everyone. With me tonight is Valley Risk Consulting, Mr. Roger Garza and Mr. Javier Liad, representatives that assist us with our health plan fund. This report regarding is to provide a status update on the health plan. We're going to look back into the last budget season when we were planning for this, what the history was, and then what the plan actually ended up costing us. And then we're going to look towards the future into this next budget season. The first chart provides the 23-24 projections, and these were some projections that we worked on as early as March of last year. Back then, we reported on this during the 24-25 budget process. The ending fund balance at the time was projected to be a little bit over $1 million, which is the top chart that you see there. In actuality, our revenue was spot on. We did calculate very close to actual, and that's the bottom. But however, the expenses were a lot higher. And this is attributed to several factors. Number one, we have some increase in pharmacy costs And in addition to that, we did have 6 high-cost claimants, and none of those hit the stop-loss deductible. So that did increase our costs. So we ended up actually closing the year at an ending fund balance of $68,496. The next chart provides when we were working on the 24-25 projections for March. We already knew it was going to be a tough year. In terms of revenue, our projections were correct. We also decided that we were going to need some additional help. We have been carrying year to year a assigned fund balance of $2 million, and I don't know if you recall if early on in the year we did a budget amendment to move over 1 million of those 2 million into the health plan, and at that time I did inform you that it was very likely that we were going to occupy the full 2 million for the year. However, we were going to do it in sections. So we are bringing a budget amendment to the board tonight for the additional million, so that 2 million still stands. We also were tasked with finding budget reduction ideas, working with our providers, and then also looking within what programs we offer and maybe providing some cost savings. So at the time, we estimated about $856,000 that we could bring in, but it ended up being a little bit over $1 million in cost savings. So that, we like to do cost containment strategies because it costs us nothing. We don't have to add additional money to the fund. So that was one of the first things that we did. Less the projected expenditures, we figured we would end the year at about $827,000. So what is it looking like now? Well, remember, we ended last year at the $68,000 versus the $1 million, so that did not help. We did have an increase in high-cost claimants. We had an additional 5 high-cost claimants, and 8 of these did go over the stop-loss deductible, the $330,000 mark. Again, our revenue stayed the same. We are going to use the $2 million. The health plan savings were a little bit, actually over $1 million. However, our projected expenditures were $28 million. So we are looking at about a negative 814. Now, the year is not over. That doesn't mean that that's where we're going to end, because at the end of the year, we get $1.2 million in rebates, pharmacy rebates, which are basically discount coupons that go back to the district. So that will zero out that 814. But another thing that we don't know is what liability adjustments we may have at the end of the year. So we'll keep looking at the numbers as we move forward, and that gets booked close to the end of the year. So that's where we're at right now. These are the summary of the budget reductions that we worked on. Like I said, cost containment doesn't cost us a dime. So what we did is we talked to Blue Cross Blue Shield. We said, we have 1 more year to renew. What can you offer us? So they gave us a reduction on the administration of the plan of $125,000. So that's straight off the top. They gave us a discount for the year. In addition to that, pharmacy plan, medication sourcing, we were able to take advantage of some coupons through the pharmacy plan, and that was a savings of $290,000. As far as the stop loss, we went out for bid on that one, and the stop loss the savings for the stop loss was $350,000 through a new RFP. The medical plan administration, it says 150, but it really should say 350 because that was the savings. And we're actually working with our consultant right now to reduce it even further, maybe another 35,000. The issue is that they've identified 4 covered lives that they're lasering. And what a laser means is that they exclude those from the stop loss insurance. And so it's predicted that those individuals will exceed maybe $500,000 to $600,000 in expenditures. However, one of them, because of the prognosis, that probably will not materialize. So we're working on getting another discount from the premium on the stop loss because of that. So we're still in negotiation with that, and then we're gonna see what else we can do with those lasers. But that's something that they typically do. In addition to that, the medical plan administration fee was reduced by $50,000. We had an on-site rep. There was actually a Blue Cross employee here at central office that would help the employees with their benefit plan changes and questions, anything they have. So we said, you know what, we can handle that on our own. We don't really need that. So they reduced that by $94,000. We didn't renew that. We didn't renew the medical plan fiduciary fee. And then we opted out of the medical plan benefit advisor fee. That's another $98,000. So in total, it was a little bit over $1 million that we did in cost containment savings. We're still working on the state medical plan discontinuation, which is something I'm going to talk to you all about. And then also we're negotiating further network savings with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So some of the things that increased our costs, as I mentioned before, are pharmacy. Mounjaro is a drug that is typically used for diabetes treatment, and it's really one of the most expensive ones to our plan. It has risen in popularity. We have had about an additional 13 utilizers, 111 prescriptions, and this medication, we cannot source it through Canada.
How come?
How come? Gentlemen, do you have the answer to that question?
It's not one of the drugs that buys
Sorry, because I know other districts are sourcing internationally, so I'm just wondering why we cannot.
Good evening, President Peña, Superintendent Gutierrez, and honorable members of the Board of Trustees. To answer your question, it's a drug that's very difficult to obtain. As you can recall, a few months ago, there was a shortage on the production of that particular drug. So it's not something that is generated here in the United States. It's actually, I think it's from Germany, I believe it's where it's produced. So they kind of held back, they scaled back a little bit just to drive the price up. However, we've made several attempts to try to get that drug in Australia and United Kingdom and other countries, and it's just not available out there. And they won't ship it into the U.S. for that particular purpose. So for us to obtain it from them at their price, they're holding back, so we have to get it from the commercial markets here.
Right, but I mean, I know of other districts and entities that are getting it internationally, so I'm just curious why just we can't get it.
It's not Ozempic, because Ozempic we can source internationally.
It's just that one particular drug that's has been very difficult to obtain. However, there's other resources and other recommendations that we're going to make to the board that we believe will offset that particular drug or that cost of that drug. So in the future, you'll probably be hearing some recommendations that you might want to take action.
Because then there's also Wegovy and Zepbound, so.
Yes, ma'am, those we can obtain internationally as well.
Yes, that one we can.
But, Mr. Garza, my question is, and I asked this morning when we were going over this board book and the presentation, is do they need to be on that medication? Can it be an equivalent like Ozempic or some other medication that's equivalent to this one without having to have this brand? I mean, like,
that's a wonderful question. If you don't mind, can I answer that?
Yes, sir.
It's a great question because that was a statement that was asked of us last week by another superintendent. Why are we having to dispense this drug? I'm going to go back 5 years, and I believe Trustee Aliceda was at that insurance committee meeting, if you recall, and we brought up the question about Trulicity that came into the market. It was a very expensive drug, and the old PBM had assured us that it was a very rare drug. Very few people would use it. Don't worry about it. It's expensive, but only 2 or 3 would use it. A year later, they came back, and they had this Ozempic that just hit the market. But don't worry about it. It's not going to happen. They're going to stay on Trulicity. We had 113 people on Trulicity at the time and 2 people on Ozempic, but they said not to worry about it. A year later, we had almost 180 people on Ozempic, and people were getting off of Trulicity. So these are high-priced GLP drugs that are starting to hit the plan. What we're attempting to do is put a gap between the delivering of that drug. People were actually taking a $136 drug just not more than 5-6 years ago. Now it's costing us $1,300 on the average just to maintain those drugs. So it's incumbent on us to come up with a different idea and start the step therapy programs before we put them on these high-end drugs. But doctors tend to prescribe that first because people see them on commercials. That's what they want. They want to lose weight, and we all want to lose weight. But at the end of the day, we don't have any mechanism inside our plan that pays for weight loss. And this is one step that could take without actually incurring that cost. So we do have some ideas, sir. As you mentioned, they don't have to be on those particular drugs. They just allowed themselves to get on it by doctor authorization.
So then we can set the parameters of that, not to have this, what is it called, Mounjaro?
Mounjaro, yes, sir.
And say that we cover Ozempic or another equivalency drug that is within our plan.
Correct.
Because, with health insurance and our pharmacy, is very fluid because we have claims that fluctuate month to month, week to week.
Well, the threat is that there's another drug, another GLP drug that's coming down the pipe that's even twice as expensive as that one. So we have to set the parameters in place for future cost reference, I could say it, so that they don't obtain that drug because it's gonna come in. Your plan allows it to go in. So it's incumbent on us to come up with these limitations so it doesn't happen.
So we can say that we don't cover this because there's other equivalent drugs that can do the same.
That's correct.
All right, then that's, maybe that's what we need to perhaps, unless the patient is allergic to all the other ones and this one he or she is not allergic to, then that's an understandable.
Well, it's our responsibility as a entity or as a plan is only pay for the condition that they're seeking, which is diabetes. The side effects are weight loss, and in some cases there's other side effects that benefit the employee that they're taking advantage of. But our target is diabetes. If we can treat diabetes and control diabetes, that's our responsibility to pay for. Those drugs are inexpensive, or as one pharmacist said one time, whatever happened to the drugs that used to cost $39 a month, they're still there on the shelf, we just not utilize them anymore. So for us, we want to come up with a suggestion and a recommendation actually that targets that and makes employees, not forces them, but encourages them to take those drugs first before they seek the high-end drugs.
I mean, we can do that. Of those 108 utilizers, how many do we know are actually employees and how many of those are dependents? Because at one point we talked about not allowing dependents, but only allowing, at one point we talked about not even allowing any of these drugs in our system, and that would save us because we are self-funded, and I think people forget that. They don't realize that we are self-funded, and so this is really on us. This is really taking money out of our accounts to have to pay for this. And so we did talk about that. But the board at that time said, no, we'd go ahead and fund it for our employees and their dependents. But then there was a mindset of not doing it for their dependents. So do we know, I mean, out of 108 utilizers are 8 employees and 100 are dependents that are on our system?
We didn't actually drill down to that, but we can get it for you.
I would love to know that number because there needs to be a stopping point. I feel like there needs to be a stopping point. We do what Dr. Gutierrez said. We push them to another drug. We'll pay for this, but not that. This because this is lower. But even further, step it to because it is so costly. You're an employee of the district. We'll take care of it for you. But for your dependent, for your spouse, for your children, that's on you. I think that needs to be a conversation that we need to have because this is quite excessive.
Yes, ma'am. And there's other recommendation, and I hate to get too far ahead, but on your formulary and non-formulary drugs that you need to start actually condensing so that it's not just an open pharmacy list. It just condenses it down to the condition that you're treating.
Well, just to give you an example, on the base plan, we have about 645 enrolled in a family type plan, which is employee and spouse, employee and child, employee and children, employee and family. So that's just on the base plan. And on the high plan, we have about 287.
I thought we got rid of the high plan. I thought that
no, we have 3. We have actually 4, but we have the basic plan, we have the high plan. The state plan is the one that we're talking about getting rid of. And then, of course, we have the alternate, employee only.
And we'll talk about those,
268.
those plans, because we have three, and eventually we may have to just have two options. And so we'll talk about those, because they're further down in the presentation. But we got to find different ways to offset this medical healthcare cost without putting too much into the employees' contributions, you know, finding ways to cut back and still maintain as much as possible what the employees are paying without going up high, a lot higher.
We have 284 on the other plans that are family plans.
I think this would be a great topic, in my opinion, for a workshop just on health
Insurance,
insurance. I know we have discussed that we don't contribute as much as we should as a district as well for, you know, the per employee. And so I would love for us to be able to help the majority of our employees as far as health care, but obviously then we'd have to make some cuts somewhere else to be able to support that. And I know these drugs change lives, but again, if it's not a true diabetic and they're just using it for the side effect, there are other medications that are indicated for weight loss, which are not Mounjaro, but Zepbound and Wegovy. And so I just think maybe we need to see where, you know, maybe Ozempic's covered, but not the weight loss, I mean, or at a higher copay. I don't even know how that can work, but there needs to be maybe.
Well, they do go through step therapy, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but with step therapy, for example, if you're being prescribed Mounjaro right off the bat, that will not be approved. You will have to start with a different alternative medication before you get to the Mounjaro. So these people have actually, they're actual diabetics. It's not, we don't cover for weight loss.
Right, okay.
Well, we do have an overview, because we have some more slides, but I think it's a good idea just to have a meeting on the health plan as well as the pharmacy plan, and just on that, so that we can have ask all the questions and go over the whole plan, because it's coming up where we need to go out. I think this is the last year of the contract.
One more year.
So,
Yes, for the third-party administrator and the pharmacy plan.
Yeah.
And,
So-
and we did, I remember we had a workshop, Trustee Eliseda and I were, and you, Regalado was on Zoom, and we had the representatives from Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we asked those questions, and we never heard anything back.
We can bring them back
Yeah.
to our budget workshop.
So go ahead
Yes,
and complete
Yes, sir.
that,
The next
but it would
one
be good to have that.
is the
What was
high-cost
scheduled?
claimants that I mentioned. In '23, we had 6 claimants, and in '24, we have 11, which is a total cost of $4.2 million. So it's an increase of almost $3 million from year. So that's why you see the costs increase. Now, in terms of cost containment, one of the things that we did is update the formulary, implemented prior authorizations, and the step therapy that I mentioned. So the biggest impact has been from the international pharmacy. The program cost the members $0 and to fill their eligible medication, and our plan pays sometimes as much as 50% less for the drug, so it's a win-win. We've achieved over $3.2 million in savings since the program's inception, and we filled over prescriptions by 250 eligible members. So our plan also has a diabetic population, so we do have some diabetes management. They will get, from the program, they get a glucose meter, a monitor meter for their blood sugar level, and supplies as they need it. They're also provided with one-to-one coaching. We also have telemedicine, and this telemedicine is provided by our agent for the voluntary products. And the telemedicine is another win-win, because it's a zero cost for the employee and their dependents. And they don't have to be, their dependents do not have to be on the plan. Like, for example, you could have your children that are covered by another plan, even in college, and they can call in and you don't pay anything, and you see a doctor through telemedicine. And the district pays nothing. So we've been actively promoting that. It's a savings of about $300,000. So that's another cost containment. So for 25-26, We are considering proposing discontinuing the state plan. Now, this one, we only have about 36 enrolled in the plan. However, it's at a loss ratio of 365%. So what that means is, in comparison to the other plans, for example, the basic plan costs us $582.99 per employee, where the high plan costs us $1,357.40 per employee per month, and the state plan costs us $2,792 per employee per month. So it's very expensive. Originally, it started because this was to mimic the actual state health plan. Those benefits are very rich. They pay very little to no out of pocket. It's an 85. The district covers 85%, and the employee covers 15%. They have 0 to reduce co-pays, so they're paying very little, like I said, out of pocket. What we would recommend is for that group for us to start working with them, educating them on the plans that we do have plan to continue, if this is something that we will be able to just continue, educating them and transitioning them for January 2026. So starting because January already started, we have to wait till January 2026. But we can work with them now to provide them alternatives, because another thing they can do is get a supplement plan, and if they need additional insurance. So that's something that we're proposing.
And most districts, in fact, maybe all of them by now, they only have 2 plans as options.
Yeah, some even have 1.
Yeah, so the 70%, 30%, or the 80%, 20%. I don't know of anyone that has a third plan because of the high cost of healthcare.
That's the data you don't ever see behind the, like, well, our school district only pays this much, but our school district has 4 plans or 3 plans, where the other school districts only have 1 or 2. So those numbers are always fuzzy when, like, we look like we're not doing well, but we are covering a lot.
Yes, and so the other things that we can consider is, of course, we can change the employer contribution, increase that, because it's kind of about time we do that. We can also modify the employee premiums. We can also look at the co-pays, the deductible plan design changes, like, on the pharmacy side as well. This chart provides a comparison of employer contributions of our district is the number 2 lowest at $466.50. Now, the district has done really, really well, and I'm going to tell you, because we have been paying one of the lowest employer contributions, yet the plan has been in the black all these years. We have not had to transfer money until this year. So there was a $500,000 that was transferred maybe about 3 years ago, but that's it. Some of these districts, not only are they contributing a very high monthly per employee per month amount, but then they're also transferring. Like, for example, like the district that I came from, we were transferring about $1 million a year for like 3 years. So in addition to increasing, so McAllen ISD has done extremely well with that, but now it's time to consider making those changes. So we've taken the cost containment almost as far as we can. We're going to still continue looking at several options, but we do also need to look at the employer side of the contribution. And then the next chart, these districts in comparison to McAllen ISD, Los Fresnos, Huesaco, Mission, and PSJ, they increased their district contribution. So this past year, they all went up. These guys went up. And then this chart just provides how they, not only did Los Fresnos, Huesaco, and PSJ increase their district contribution, but they also increased the employee contribution, their premiums as well. So they did a double change. And then this just kind of shows, like what you were saying, Ms. Aliceda, a comparison of the districts surrounding us and what their, first of all, their plan benefits at the top on the white, and then their prescription drug prices. And then at the bottom is the cost per month, their premiums. And then at the bottom is the district contribution. So that's just for reference if you want to compare. And this is their basic plans. This provides a history of our district in terms of employer contribution and employee adjustments. The last time that the district made an adjustment was in 23-24, and basically it was to add, I believe it was $26.50 to the basic plan, with a variation on some of the other plans. We had some increases across the board in the different employee premiums. So prior to that, it was 1920, and even before that, 1819. So as you can see, the district has not impacted the employees. The district takes on the burden as much as possible. However, it's maybe now time to consider making some adjustments in some of the plans. And that concludes my report. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, let me know.
So we'll plan that special
Yeah.
call board meeting just for the health insurance and the pharmacy.
There's nothing more complicated than insurance matters, obviously, you know, and so I think it's a great idea. Okay. Thank you for that. Item 10C3, discussion and possible action on the McAllen Independent School District January budget amendment for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024 and ending July 30th, 2025. Dr. Gutierrez.
Administration is recommending the approval of the January 2025 budget amendment for the 24-25 fiscal year. Ms. Lorena Garcia, Deputy Superintendent for Business and Operations, will report on the amendment. Administration is recommending action on this item.
I was going to ask a bunch of questions on it, but you already explained the $1 million. So I moved, I'll make a motion that we pass the budget.
Second.
I have a motion by Trustee Aliceda and a second by Trustee Regalado. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries 4-0. Item 10C4, discussion and possible action on final payment to Safe Haven Defense Arizona LLC on contract number 2024-313 Safety Security Film Application Rebid. Dr. Gutierrez.
A final walkthrough of the project has been completed with facility staff, the contractor, and engineer. All the items on the punch list have been completed. Mr. Ruben Trevino, our Executive Director of Facilities, Maintenance, and Operations, has already approved this item to be taken to the board, and we are recommending action on this item.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Trustee Aliceda and a second by Trustee De La Garza Lopez. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries 4-0. 10C5, discussion and possible action on request for proposal number 2025-1023, staff refresh technology equipment with service and leasing options. Dr. Gutierrez.
Administration solicited proposals from vendors for technology equipment with service and leasing options. Ms. Judith Escamilla, our Executive Director for Technology, is available to answer questions. Administration is recommending action on this item. You may want to give us an overview, Ms. Escamilla.
Yes. Members of the board, Superintendent, this solicitation was mainly to address a lot of the concerns with our refresh of our devices for all of our teachers and staff. And we're coming up to the 6th year where we had initially first done the refresh. So it's been a while since we've done this. So we're very excited to move forward with this solicitation and hopefully entertain different options when it comes to leasing. We are definitely considering a particular situation for leasing, which would be the dollar buyout for this equipment. We're looking at 2,900 devices for our teachers and staff district-wide.
So they will get new devices?
Correct.
All of them?
Yes.
Replace the old ones that they currently have?
Correct.
With these new ones?
Devices would be computers, laptops?
This would be laptops, correct?
Laptops.
Yes, laptops for every staff. We basically have a one-to-one for our staff, so they would get a laptop for all of our teachers, and then our core admin and everything. Just go down that ladder.
I move we approve the ranking of request for proposal number 2025-1023, staff refresh technology equipment with service and leasing options for a period of 1 year with the option to renew for 3 additional 1-year terms for one-time purchases.
Second.
I have a motion by Trustee Aliceda and a second by Trustee Regalado. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries 4-0, and this is a three-part motion, so.
I move that the board approve that administration begin negotiations with the highest ranked firm. If the district is unable to negotiate a satisfactory contract with the selected firm, the district shall formally and in writing end negotiations with that firm and proceed to the next firm in the order of the selection ranking until a contract is reached or all submittals are rejected.
Second. DCA, that's fine. I have a motion by trustee Regalado and a second by trustee Alizada. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries 4-0.
I move that the board further authorize the superintendent to execute a lease contract and related documents once contract negotiations have been successfully achieved for a period of 3 years.
I'll sit. Trustee De La Garza.
Sorry.
It's okay. Trustee Regalado, I have a motion by trustee Regalado and a second by trustee De La Garza Lopez. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, ladies. Item 10D, Board of Trustees items. I need a motion for 10D1, approval of Board of Education minutes.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by trustee Regalado and a second by trustee De La Garza Lopez. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes 4-0.
Before we go on to the next item, can I just recommend, I know we used to do this, we used to have like a section for upcoming meetings, and I know we're gonna have tons with the budget meetings coming up, but I think, I don't know how it fell off our agendas, but I think it'd be great to put it back on, especially.
I know we removed some items, but that was not one of them.
Yeah.
So we'll make
Just
sure they get
because we
added.
have so many every
I'll
week.
get with you, Norma, on that.
We'll take it, yes, we'll put it in, yeah, because there's a bunch of meetings coming up.
Right, just so
In
the public is aware.
And
Definitely.
yes, 10D1A, regular board meeting, January 28th, 2025. Item 11, recess to closed session. Board of Trustees may go into closed session pursuant to sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076, and 551.089 Texas Government Code to discuss the following. 11A, Human Resources Recommendations for School Year 2024-2025. Item B, discussion of human resources, employee resignations, and retirees for year 2024-25. 11C, discussion regarding school safety and security. Items 11D, pending and/or potential litigation. 11E, possible real estate acquisition. At 6:33 p.m., we are in closed session. At 7:03 p.m., we are reconvened in open session. Item 13, action on items in closed session. 13A, discussion and possible action of human resources recommendations for school year 2024-2025. Dr. Gutierrez.
Human Resources submitted a list of recommendations for the 24-25 school year under a separate cover for discussion during closed session. Dr. Albert Canales, Chief Human Resource Officer, is available to answer any questions. We are recommending action on this item.
Move to approve. Second.
I've got a motion by Trustee De La Garza Lopez and a second by Trustee Regalado. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries 4-0. Item 13B, discussion of human resources employee resignations and retirees for school year 2024-2025. Dr. Gutierrez.
Human Resources submitted a list of resignations and retirees for the 24-25 school year under a separate cover for discussion during closed session. Dr. Canales, Chief Human Resources Officer, is available to answer any questions, and this is for information purposes only.
Thank you very much. And item 13C, discussion regarding school safety and security. No action taken. Item 13D, pending and or potential litigation. Mr. Ball.
Nothing to report.
And 13E, possible real estate acquisition. Mr. Ball.
Thank you.
And can I get a motion to adjourn, ladies?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Trustee Regalado and a double second by Trustee Aliceda and Trustee De La Garza Lopez. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries 4-0 at 7:05 p.m. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.